You open your eyes and you're standing in a ditch. It's cold. It's wet. Something just ran across your boot, and it was bigger than your hand. And no, don't get excited. You're not a hero. There's no medal coming. You're a private in the trenches of World War I. And statistically, you have about 6 weeks left. Welcome to the worst real estate in human history. Let's look around. Your new home is a zigzagging gash in the earth, maybe 7 feet deep and barely wide enough to turn around in. The walls are held up with sandbags, timber, and hope. The floor is supposed to have wooden boards called duck boards. They don't help. Underneath them is mud, not the cute kind you wipe off your shoes. This mud swallows things. Boots, rifles, horses, men. In the wet sectors, a wounded man who fell off the duckboard could drown in it before anyone reached him, in the open ground. And the smell hits you before anything else does. Imagine rotting sandbags, unwashed bodies, cordite smoke, overflowing latrines, and underneath all of it, something sweeter and worse that you'll learn not to ask about. That smell is the trench. You will smell it in your sleep for the rest of your life. You are not alone down here. First, the lice. They live in the seams of your uniform, and there is no getting rid of them. Men spent their rare quiet hours running a candle flame along their clothes just to hear the eggs pop. They called the lice chats, and sitting around picking them off each other is literally where the word chatting comes from. You're welcome. Enjoy that one at parties. Then there are the rats. And these aren't normal rats. These are rats that have spent years in a buffet of the dead, and some of them grew to the size of a small cat. They crawl over your face while you sleep. They eat your rations. They eat worse things too, out in no man's land, and then they come back. You throw things at them. It doesn't help. There are millions of them, and there are only so many of you. But the thing that's actually going to hurt you is quieter than rats. It's your feet. You're standing in cold water for days at a time, in boots that never dry. Your feet go numb, then white, then they start to rot while still attached to your body. It's called trench foot, and in severe cases, the only fix is amputation. An entire war, and one of your deadliest enemies is a puddle. Hungry? Good news, there's food. Bad news, there's food. Your main course is a tin of bully beef. Salty, fatty, mystery meat. And a biscuit so hard the men joked you could stop a bullet with it, or write a letter home on it, or use it as a roof tile. Take your pick. Sometimes you get a stew called meikonoki, which is mostly turnip, mostly cold, and mostly disappointing. And the water. The water arrives in old fuel cans. So everything tastes faintly of petrol. But that's fine, because to make it safe, they dump in so much chlorine that you're essentially drinking a swimming pool. Either way, you drink it. Thirst doesn't care about the menu. Here's the part the movies never show you. Most of the time, nothing happens. War is not constant action. War is waiting. You stand to before dawn, rifle ready, staring into the dark in case of attack. Then hours of nothing. You repair the trench. You fill sandbags. You try to sleep in a hole carved into the wall while artillery rumbles somewhere over the horizon like permanent thunder. The boredom is real, and boredom is dangerous because it makes you forget where you are. And the moment you forget where you are is exactly the moment this place remembers you. And don't picture a quiet night's sleep either. You don't really get one. The day runs on a rota, a couple of hours on watch, a couple of hours on work detail, a couple of hours of so-called rest, around the clock, so you're never fully awake and never fully asleep. You learn to doze standing up, leaning on the fire step, helmet down, while the man beside you stays on the parapet. Sleep becomes something you steal in 20-minute pieces, and never enough of it. After a few days, the exhaustion does something strange to your head. The fear goes quiet, not because it's gone, because you simply don't have the energy left to feel it. Because then the shelling starts. You hear it first, a sound like the sky tearing in half, and every man around you stops being a soldier and becomes a small animal looking for a hole. The ground doesn't shake. The ground jumps. Dirt rains down. The air punches you in the chest from 50 feet away. A shell doesn't always kill you with shrapnel. Sometimes the blast wave alone is enough to stop your heart or rupture your lungs without leaving a single mark on your body. And it goes on. For hours, sometimes for days. The big offensives opened with bombardments so long and so loud that men miles away went deaf, and men close up simply stopped working. They shook, they stared, they couldn't speak. We call it shell shock now. Back then, a lot of them were called cowards, and some were shot for it by their own side. They weren't cowards. Their minds had simply been somewhere no mind is built to survive. And then, one cold morning, an officer lifts a whistle to his lips. You know what the whistle means. The whistle means you climb the ladder out of the only thing protecting you, and you walk into open ground toward men whose entire job right now is to kill you. This was going over the top. Let's talk about the math, because the math is the horror. On the first day of the Battle of the Somme, the British Army suffered around 57,000 casualties. In one day, nearly 20,000 of them died. Many were cut down in the first minutes by machine guns that fired hundreds of rounds a minute into men who had been promised the enemy would already be dead. The enemy was not dead. The enemy was waiting, in deep concrete bunkers, for the shelling to stop and the whistles to start. You go anyway, because the alternative, refusing, gets you court-martialed and possibly shot at dawn by your own friends. So you climb, and you find out which kind of statistic you are. And just when you think you understand the rules of this place, the wind changes, and a strange green-yellow cloud comes rolling low across the ground toward you. Gas, chlorine, phosgene, and later mustard gas. Chlorine tears your lungs apart from the inside, drowning you on dry land. Mustard gas is patient. It blisters your skin, blinds your eyes, and burns you in every place sweat collects. And it doesn't always do it right away. You might feel fine for hours, then wake up screaming. Your only defense is a mask you have to get on in seconds. In a panic, while half blind, while the man next to you who didn't get his on in time tells you exactly what's coming. And the gas doesn't leave when the cloud does. It's heavier than air, so it sinks. And the one place that's lower than everything else, the one place you've been told to stay in, is the trench. It pools in the bottom of your dugout and sits in the shell holes for hours, patient, invisible, waiting for some exhausted man to pull his mask off too soon. The safest spot in the whole war becomes the trap. Even the air down here is trying to kill you. Slowly. On a delay. Here's the thing I want you to sit with for a second. Everything I just described wasn't a story. It was a Tuesday. For 4 years, millions of ordinary men, most of them younger than you are right now, woke up in that mud, ate that biscuit, picked those lice off their skin, and stood in that water waiting for a whistle. Most of them never wanted to be there. Most of them were boys who left a farm or a factory or a classroom because their country asked, and a staggering number of them never came home. Around 10 million soldiers died in that war. 10 million. And every single one of them was somebody's whole world. We turned it into grainy footage and a paragraph in a textbook. They lived it one freezing minute at a time. So the next time you're annoyed that your coffee's cold or your feet are a little wet on the walk home, and you will be because you're human, just remember that there were men who would have traded everything they had for a problem that small. That's the whole video. No charging music, no glory, just the mud and the boys who stood in it. Subscribe for more history they skipped in school. See you in the next video.